This is Shane Bieber's world, and we're just living in it. Welcome to Fantasy Baseball today on a Kokomo Friday, July 31st. Frank Stanfield here alongside Pocket Aces, Adam Azer. Welcome back to the show, and Scotty Dubs, Scott White. Guys, Shane Bieber is the best pitcher in baseball right now. Where is Chris when we need him on the show? Can someone fire up Chris?
What do you think he would say?
He'd be like, well, guys, it's only a 2-game sample. It's a very small sample size. So, look, would you still choose Franmil Reyes to lead baseball in home runs, Frank? And then I would say yes. And then you'd say, well, yeah, then I'm going to stick with my bold prediction as well.
Okay. Not bad. I think he would make a joke and he'd go, look, I've always loved Shane Bieber. I always drafted him. It is only 2 games, but man, he's pretty good. He is pretty good.
These are two of the most convincing games you'll ever see. Now, in 2 games, he has faced 50 batters. He has struck out 27 of them, more than half the batters he's faced. He's walked 1 of the 50 batters he's faced. And
easy matchup today. Only the Twins.
Yeah, the Twins. 8 innings, 13 strikeouts after having 14 strikeouts last time. Yeah, that's. I picked him. I picked him to win the AL Cy Young. And I have a ton of shares of Shane Bieber. So I am loving life right now, unlike Chris, wherever he is. I mean, Chris, I guess he can hang his hat on Giancarlo Stanton and his .545 batting average so far, I guess.
Don't worry. We're going to get into Stanton a little bit later on. Shane Bieber against the Minnesota Twins Thursday night. 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, 13 strikeouts. His 27 strikeouts in the first 2 starts of the season is tied for the most in MLB history with who? Carl Spooner. Can't tell you anything about Carl Spooner, but Shane Bieber, I don't think it's a hot take. I think he is pitching like the best pitcher in baseball right now. It is only 2 starts, so take it with a grain of salt. He was going to be my, oh my goodness gracious player of the night, but I just figured I'd lead with Shane Bieber because he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT right now. All right, guys. Adam, you haven't been here yet for it. So why don't we get started with you?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Adam, who is your oh my goodness gracious player of the night?
Starlin Castro. And he went 4 for 5, double, 2 runs, and a strikeout. Maybe you guys could confirm this, but I don't think he has an RBI in 7 games. It's one of those things that I was like, I looked it up, I double checked, and I still don't believe it's true. But Starlin Castro right now does not have an RBI, but he's batting .360 after a 4 for 5 day. The oh my goodness gracious with Starlin Castro, he's owned in 88% of leagues. And oh my goodness gracious, people, I know he's coming off a great night, but I'm here to rain on your parade. He was great. Castro was great after the All-Star break. .302 batting average, 16 home runs, .892 OPS. He's in a better ballpark. He's not that good of a player. I'm not buying it. I think that with all these pitchers that keep emerging on the waiver wire, if you don't need to start Starlin Castro, he should be the guy you drop to pick up one of those pitchers. But look, I mean, he's doing a nice job. I'm not saying he should be 30% owned, maybe more like 50 to 60%, but 88%, I just don't see why he should be like a 10-team league type player. That's wild to me. Good day for him. I guess sell high is what I'm saying on Starlin Castro.
He does not have an RBI yet, Adam, but better days are likely ahead. Once Juan Soto joins this lineup, I would imagine Starlin Castro is probably going to remain in the middle of the lineup. And he has dual position eligibility, which helps as well. So you can try and sell him. I don't think you're going to really get anything for Starlin Castro right now.
Look, he had a big day. I couldn't, when I clicked on his name and I saw the roster percentage of 88%, I was like,
I'm curious how much that's changed, because I almost wonder how much our analysis should be driven by ownership percentages. Because there's a lot of wackiness to them. And because of the way, we were ramping up, we shut down, we ramped up again, but with a much smaller audience.
How would that affect him, though? I
don't know, but it doesn't
agree.
Make sense because nobody in our drafts was drafting him, right? Like, I don't know what's going on with ownership percentages, frankly, but I don't trust them. I don't trust them, and I don't trust that he's actually that widely owned, because like how like are there a bunch of leagues out there that start 30 hitters and only 5 pitchers? It just like how are people fitting him on in their lineups?
Maybe they really buy into the second half.
It's not like you go and look at second base and third base eligible players and think, oh, this guy's ownership is ridiculously low.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's how people are getting Starlin Castro on their rosters. I don't know. Yes, if he's actually 88% owned, that's absurd. And you have to corner the pitching. You have to corner the pitchers while they're still available, because they're not all going to pan out. The ones who've gotten off to a good enough start that we're excited about picking them up, some of them are going to drop off and get dropped. But like, you need to give yourself a chance to actually snag some of the success stories, because that's going to be the more impactful player for your team than another decent hitting infielder would be.
Yeah, I don't see why he would be owned in anything outside of roto leagues, where you have a middle infielder and a corner infielder, because in a head-to-head points league, you only start a second baseman, 1 third baseman, 1 utility. Shouldn't be owned there. Head-to-head categories leagues are not dissimilar in terms of their lineup construction. So outside of roto leagues, I don't know that Starlin Castro should be owned. He's not even a great roto player anyway. So
yeah, so who?
Fair point, Adam.
We got
time
here.
We don't have to really linger on this. I'm sorry. I didn't want to sidetrack the show. I just looked now. Like, I mean, I kind of get it, because the people behind the second baseman behind him in ownership percentage are Tommy La Stella, Brandon Lau, Luis Ariz, Colton Wong, Rougned Odor, Ryan McMahon, Gavin Lux, Cesar Hernandez, Robinson Cano, etc. Like, there are really no players here, and he's 15th in ownership percentage. So right. I kind of get it, but
are 88% of our leagues the sort of leagues that required 15 second basemen to be rostered?
Maybe Mike Moustakas goes on the IL and people pick up Starlin Castro. DJ LeMahieu was a question mark for opening day.
But then there's 3 others after him who are more than 80% owned. So now we're up to 18.
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, this is a lot of Starlin Castro talk and a lot of position eligibility talk. Scott, give us your, oh my goodness gracious, player of the net.
All right. So, there weren't the same electric performances we saw last night, Wednesday night. But I'm going to go with Trevor Rosenthal here, kind of getting to the closer talk early, because he got the save this time for the Royals. Greg Holland, I believe, pitched the 6th. Ian Kennedy pitched the 8th and gave up a run. Greg Holland looked fine, but Ian Kennedy gave up a run. Rosenthal came in, pitched the 9th. He's throwing 100 again. Most encouraging to me, in 3 appearances, he has yet to walk a guy. Like, he fell off because he just could not find the strike zone anymore. And he's never been a good control pitcher. But, formerly the closer for the Cardinals, had back-to-back 45 save seasons and throws 100. Mike Matheny used to be his manager, right, Frank? I think you've made that point before.
Correct.
I don't know that he's the guy now. I don't know that Matheny isn't going to continue to mix it up. But clubhouse leader now for Royal saves, I think, would have to be Rosenthal. I would still put Holland second in that pecking order, because Kennedy has not once been held to be in a position to get saves. He's always come in earlier. So yeah, I think Rosenthal, if you're looking to continue chasing saves, it seems like we have 2 or 3 new targets emerging every night, but he's among them now.
I feel like you guys have probably said this every single year, and it might be hyperbolic, but like, this year's closer carousel just seems crazier than ever before. Like, it's always crazy. But again, like you said, Scott, I mean, it's every single night. We either have an injury or someone randomly picking up a save. It's been pretty crazy to start. Scott, where would Trevor Rosenthal rank among this group? Nick Birdie, Anthony Bass, Oliver Drake, Trevor Gott. Where would you put Rosenthal among that group?
Put him after Birdie. I would put him after Bass. I think he'd be next. I think I'd put him ahead of Oliver Drake. That's pretty close. But I don't have much confidence the Rays are ever going to settle on one guy, and I feel like the Royals probably will at some point, though they may not be ready to do that yet.
Yeah, and then Trevor Gott just has Gabe Kapler as his manager. But I don't disagree with that order that you had them in, so I think that's fair. Adam, for Rosenthal, you agree with that?
I'd go Bass, Birdie, Rosenthal.
Okay. And then Drake and Gott after him. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Player of the night was, of course, it's got to be my guy. I don't know how much this is going to help people, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But Max Fried is amazing. Max Fried is awesome. And if he continues to limit the walks like he's done the first couple of starts here, 6 2/3 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts against the Tampa Bay Rays Thursday night, 13 swinging strikes on 85 pitches. He was hitting 99, not consistently, but at times with his fastball throughout the start. The curveball and the slider are both great secondary pitches that he can go to. Hasn't really been using the changeup as much as I thought he might heading into the season, but it really hasn't mattered. He has looked amazing. So I think that the breakout is imminent for Max Fried. Wouldn't surprise me if he returns. I mean, at this point, top 20-ish starting pitcher value. Max Fried is awesome. That's all I have to say on that. Some news and notes. Mike Trout was placed on the paternity leave, and let's hope he's back by Monday. See? Pay attention to it. Rangers placed their closer, Jose Leclerc, on the 45-day injured list with a grade 2 strain in his right shoulder. Everything I'm seeing right now is that this is going to be a committee. It's worth noting that Nick Goody converted a save a few nights ago. Other names that could be involved include Jonathan Hernandez, Jesse Chavez, Edinson Volquez, blast from the past. Somebody I really like in the organization is DeMarcus Evans, but I haven't heard anything or seen anything regarding Evans potentially getting a call here. So, Scott, we just spoke about some fringy closers. Are you interested in anybody in this mix for the Rangers? Is it, and if so, is it Nick Goody or who might it be?
Well, they're lower in priority than like Rosenthal would be, and of course the two ahead of him that I ranked ahead of him, Birdie and Anthony Bass. I picked up Goody in several leagues last night. I in my 5x5 leagues, I intentionally shortchanged the closer position, and so I've been going heavily every night. I'm blowing through lots of fab dollars here in the early going, but I guess the 60-game season is a good time to do that. Yeah, I picked up Goody in several leagues last night, just kind of reflexively because he got the save. But Jonathan Hernandez has actually been the 8th inning guy, and he throws very hard. He has a good slider. He's so unproven. Like, he's a rookie, and he was mostly a starter in the minors. He's so unproven that I'm kind of my hunch is the Rangers would rather keep him in a lower pressure role. That's my hunch. So I'm giving the slight edge to Goody here, but it's very slight. It's almost 50-50, and I'm not even sure my hunch holds up to scrutiny because they made Hernandez the 8th inning guy right away, right? That's pretty high pressure role itself. So yeah, I'd try to get both if you can make space for them and you're desperate for saves, because I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I know Leclerc's going to be gone for a long time, possibly the rest of the season.
Frank, I just want to amend something. Going back to the list we had earlier of closers, I would take Trevor Rosenthal second behind Anthony Bass and ahead of Nick Birdie, because eventually Kella is going to come back, and we don't know when. It could be next week. So that's his job.
You sure though? I don't know that it's guaranteed. I think if Birdie performs well, the guy has electric stuff at him. Yeah. The guy throws near 100 miles per hour. I think it's
Kella's job. I cannot. Kella's going to come back and be a setup man?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not like Kella has this long history as a closer. He's kind of moved in and out of that role the last couple years. Frank brought this up the other day. I mean, Nick Birdie in the Twins organization was a closer of the future type, and then he had Tommy John. He had thoracic outlet syndrome. He just kept getting bumped by injuries. But I mean, the stuff is there, and I think, I think if he proves to be reliable here in the early going, they may just stick with him there. Maybe not. Maybe.
Look, I don't know. I mean, I think that if they want to trade Kella, he's probably better off as a closer. That would probably increase his trade value, although I'm sure people would trade for him if he was just a setup guy. But that possibility exists, obviously. I would think Keller would get the job, but okay, fair enough. Daniel Hudson is probably, if not ahead of Anthony Bass, he's right behind him. Look, I wasn't really buying Hudson. He's had a really lousy career, honestly, until going to the Nationals last year. And then he was really good for them. But he's right. And like I said, I still think Will Harris is the best pitcher in that bullpen. Harris is dealing with a bit of an injury. Doolittle he might be done. That's how bad he looks. Or he might just be off to a slow start, like a lot of guys are coming out of spring. But right now, it's very clear that Daniel Hudson is the closer for the Nationals. You never know, right? But that's what it looks like. He's owned in 15% of CBS leagues. He's the guy that I'd be going after all the names that we've talked about right now.
You know what? He might be number one for me. He might be even ahead of Birdie and Bass.
Because he could be the guy for the entire season. We don't know if Ken Giles is going to be back. And Rosenthal might be that guy for the Royals. We just don't know yet. It seems like they kind of have three arms in back there, and Kennedy, Holland, and Rosenthal that are all kind of similar. But Matheny has a history with him. But I don't disagree regarding Hudson, if you wanted to put him first on that list, Scott.
Of course, then there's also James Karinchak.
Oh, yeah.
Threw his hat in the ring tonight with a 6-pitch save, all of them strikes. Guy supposedly can't throw strikes, but insane strikeout rate in the minors last year. And as we pointed out yesterday, Brad Hand's velocity's been down in the early going.
He's toast.
He had pitched 2 straight days, so keep that in mind. But Karinchak, a scoreless inning with a strikeout, and that's 4 scoreless innings so far with 2 walks and 5 strikeouts, I believe.
Now, in terms of talent, I think has the most of any of these guys. Like, in terms of talent, I would go Karinchak 1, Birdie 2, and like Rosenthal probably 3. But Hand needed a day off, clearly, and maybe that's all this was. Now, if Hand's stuff is not there, then it's only a matter of time. But I'm not looking at the save Karinchak got today and thinking, okay, Karinchak's the closer now. However, if you wait until it happens, then you're going to end up having to pay a lot more fab to get him. You're going to have more competition for him. Or I don't know, maybe since he got the save, maybe the competition's already there. But yeah, he's clearly in the mix now. I think to me, it's pretty clear that he's not the closer quite yet. And maybe Hand could still pull it together.
Yeah. Last closer note for me is Cole Sulser is currently being used as the closer once again for the Orioles. And we're recording during the ending of this game, and he's got 2 on with 1 out in the 9th, but he did come on for the save for the Orioles.
What happened? The Yankees blew the game?
Loizaga gave up a 2-run homer.
My God. Jonathan Lasagna.
Goodness gracious.
You're right, Scott. James Karinchak, I saw an interesting tweet from Jeff Passan earlier in the night. He said James Karinchak just pitched the 9th for Cleveland, and he's not going to be giving that spot up anytime soon. Among the best fastball curveball combos in baseball. Buddy of mine in Cleveland suggested a nickname, Special K, whatever, that doesn't matter. But it just got me thinking, I'm like, well, Jeff Passan knows baseball more than anyone. Why would he say that Karinchak is the guy in the 9th inning? It's just, look, if you own Brad Hand, get Karinchak on your team. Karinchak is 16% owned on CBS. Let's just put a bow on the whole closer reliever conversation here, Scott. Hudson, Karinchak, the Rangers guys, Birdie, Bass. Who am I missing? Rosenthal. Give me your top 3 from that list that you have to own right now. If you need saves in a Roto League or a head-to-head categories league.
Okay, I'm going to go with my top 3. I'm going to say Daniel Hudson. I'm going to say Nick Birdie. And then I'm going to say James Karinchak. Because I don't think the Indians are going to play games with Karinchak in hand. If I'm wrong and it's Karinchak's job already, then great. He should probably be number 1. But even if it is Hands for now, If Karinchak were to overtake him at some point, then there wouldn't be this back and forth like we're seeing with the Royals and so many of these other teams.
Yeah, you saw it, Frank.
Of all the dramatic things I've ever seen.
Aaron Judge just hit a 3-run home run in the top of the 9th inning. All right, that's it for your Yankees updates. I'm sorry.
So much for Sulcer.
Yeah, so much for Cole Sulcer. Last night, by the way, with the Mariners, Dan Altavilla picked up the save for the Mariners there. And I believe, who was the gentleman? Taylor Williams. He pitched earlier in that game.
I cannot keep up with this anymore. It is like closer roulette. It is ridiculous. And I think you should really try to just focus on good pitchers. They don't even have to be on good teams necessarily, but don't go chasing lousy pitchers.
Waterfalls.
Yeah, don't go chasing waterfalls, and don't go chasing lousy pitchers who got the save today and are going to be bad. Like, honestly, I don't have much faith in Greg Holland, but I do have more faith in Trevor Rosenthal.
When's the last time we said that? We have faith in Trevor Rosenthal. All right, let's run through the rest of these notes. Jeff Passan of ESPN reports that Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association have agreed to stage 7-inning doubleheaders starting August 1st. For this season only, it will help teams like the Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies hopefully complete their schedule. Speaking of which, 2 Philly staffers tested positive on Thursday morning, I believe it was, and as a result, the Blue Jays and the Phillies series this weekend has been postponed. Yesterday, we told you that it might not be long before Joey Bart is with the Giants, and then today we found out he was taking ground balls at first base at the Giants' alternate training site. Scott, just give me a number here. Where does he rank on the Stash-O-meter, 1 to 10? Let's say Mackenzie Gore and Gavin Lux represent a 10 in this case. Where would you put Joey Bart on that meter?
Gavin Lux and who represent a 10? Dylan Carlson?
Gavin Lux and Mackenzie Gore. But if
Gore.
Carlson, you believe, is a better stash than...
I mean, there's a low threshold for a 10 if those two are a 10.
Yeah.
Because they're not rostered everywhere. But I would say if those two are a 10, Bart is, I don't know, 8 or 9. But that makes it... All right, I think we need to recalibrate this meter because I don't think anybody in like a league with a head-to-head size lineup needs to be stashing Gavin Lux, right?
Yeah,
it's just larger roto lineups, larger leagues, more than 350 players rostered. Then you're stashing Gavin Lux. Then you're certainly stashing Dylan Carlson. You're probably stashing Joey Bart too, because we may very well be talking about a 2-catcher league in that case. But, small head-to-head size lineup league where every team starts just one catcher, where only 12 catchers are rostered. I don't know. I'm not in a big hurry to grab Bart. I'm not. It's a lot of hearsay right now, this idea that he's coming up too. It's worth pointing out. Andrew Baggerly, one of the Giants beat writers, brought it up. But it would be like Buster Posey was rushed to the big leagues at a historic clip for a catcher, how quickly they brought him up. And Joey Bart has gotten nowhere near the experience even Buster Posey had in the minors because of injuries and whatever else. So it would still be kind of surprising to me if that actually happened.
Well, if you're not excited about Joey Bart, maybe you'll be excited about Dalton Varsho, who was called up by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Manager Torey Lovullo says that Varsho will come off the bench for now, doing some catching and or being used at all 3 outfield spots. Just a very interesting player, a catcher and someone who can play all 3 outfield spots. Last season in AA, he hit .301 with an .899 OPS, 18 home runs, and wait for it, 21 steals for Dalton Varsho. What are we doing with this, Scott? I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know if he's going to play.
In 2-catcher leagues, probably not otherwise.
Right.
Like, this is something we talked about in the preseason. In 1-catcher leagues, assuming a normal size, 12 teams, 10 teams, something like that, you don't have to go that deep into the catcher pool. And there's already enough proven options to go around, especially since Christian Vasquez is tied for the major league lead in home runs. Like, he's living up to what he did last year. Danny Jansen's off to a good start. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa looks like he deserves to be a starter. in fantasy. Like, there's just don't know what playing time Varsho's looking at. And, we don't know if he's going to be good right away. So I'm not in a typical league where it's only one catcher and there's enough to go around. Like, I think these guys actually have to wow me before I'm replacing my starter, unless I just think I got a total dud. But, I don't know. I don't think many people are in that position right now.
Royals pitching prospect. Not sure how to say this gentleman's name. I should have looked this up. Not a professional. That's me right here. Chris Bubis, we'll go with, is being called up for their start.
It's Bubich.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He is being called up for their start on Friday. The Royals have been very aggressive with their prospects. Brady Singer first and now Bubich. And he has yet to pitch above high A ball. He has been great in 36 minor league starts, 2.59 ERA, 108 whip, 238 strikeouts, and 187 in the third innings pitched. Scott, how aggressive are you being with Bubich, if at all?
Not at all. Making the jump from A ball.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, look, he had interesting numbers in the minors last year. He was pitching an A ball, but 2.23 ERA, 0.97 whip, 11.1 K per nine. I think it's a changeup. That's kind of a ridiculous pitch for me. He has one off speed pitch that really stands out above the rest. And but I don't. That's a big leap to make for a guy who's not even a top 100 prospect, and I'm not ruling out the chance he makes an impact this year. But it's another case where I need to see it first before I'm making a move, unless it's an especially deep league.
Our email of the day comes from Andrew. Hi, Corey, Roberto, Anthony, and Gary.
I don't like being on the other side of these where I don't get to read them. I have to guess. Corey, what is it? Corey, Roberto, Anthony, and Gary?
Yes.
I have no idea.
I mean, most people are not going to get it right off the top. But the gentleman who sent us the email actually gave us the answers. You could have known it, Adam. But they are bad Padres trades. Corey Kluber, Anthony Rizzo, Roberto Alomar, and Gary Sheffield. I was wondering how much you trust Garrett Richards given his upcoming schedule. His next projected 5 starts, which, look, everything is subject to change right now in MLB, at Colorado versus the Dodgers, at the Arizona Diamondbacks versus the Houston Astros. His first start, 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks. Adam, Garrett Richards was someone that we were touting and telling people to pick up, but, I mean, what do you do with an upcoming schedule like this? Do you just see how he performs and leave him on your bench for now? I don't think you're starting him in those starts.
Well, this is a really good email. So let's say he does make these next starts. You're not starting him at Colorado. Likely, he's not going to pitch well at Colorado. So coming off a bad start at the Rockies, are you going to start Garrett Richards at home against the Dodgers? Probably not. And you're only going to start him the next time out at the Dodgers if he did well the first time against the Dodgers. So you might not be starting him at least for 2 starts, certainly for 1. It's hard. It's really hard for me to be like, well, don't pick him up then. But you could try to trade him. But of course, everything can just change so quickly in terms of schedule. The real question is, how much do you believe in him in general? And I think we believe in him. He's never been a great strikeout pitcher, but he's been a really solid starting pitcher. So I think he's worth rostering even with these terrible matchups. But it's a really good email and maybe a time to try to throw him in a trade, a 2-for-1 trade or something, and upgrade to an ace with, Ross Stripling and Garrett Richards for Jose Barrios or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's, something you should look into. Again, he looked great in his first start. He was throwing mid-90s. The slider is, a wipeout pitch. He does struggle with command at times, but a 15% swinging strike rate in that first start for Garrett Richards. But, some tough matchups coming up here. I agree. Look, if you can sell high on him, he's only 47% rostered in CBS. You should look into doing it. I don't know how realistic it is, but if you have depth, then maybe you should try one of those classic Frank 2-for-1 trades, or I think before I got here it was known as an Azer trade.
No, an Azer trade is a ripoff. That would be a fairly fair trade. So not quite an Azer trade. Too even to be an Azer trade, Frank. I'm only interested in trading Starlin Castro and Garrett Richards, who have no trade value.
Right.
Apparently. Yeah, that's an
Azer trades. All right, so he's a sell high candidate. We have some other potential trade candidates. Look, it's never too early to trade. We said this the other day. It's not too early, guys. So let's look at some buy low, some sell high candidates. I'll throw some names out there to you. And if you guys have any names that you want to offer up, feel free. The pitchers that really stood out to me as buy low options: Charlie Morton, Aaron Nola, and Jose Barrios. Barrios on Thursday night, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts against Cleveland. And his velocity continues to remain up. He's probably the pitcher on this list that I'm most interested in: Jose Barrios, Morton, and Nola. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah. I mean, I have no concerns about Barrios. I thought, to me, this start today eliminated whatever concerns. If I was inclined to be concerned about the first start, that would be gone based on the way he performed in the second start. Obviously took the loss because he was going up against Shane Bieber. So maybe if somebody's just looking at point total, they're not feeling great about Jose Barrios at this point. Yeah, I mean, I still have confidence in all 3 of those guys. The only one that slipped a little is Charlie Morton because the velocity's down. But like we talked about yesterday, it seems to be improving, and he probably has enough stuff to get by, even if it doesn't get all the way back. He'll probably still be pretty good. Hyunjin Ryu, I would add to this list, since he's actually had 2 bad starts here to open the season. I think he'd be a much easier get. And I don't really have any concerns about him. He was, in his second start, his fastball was down a couple miles per hour from a year ago. It was better in the first start. To me, that's probably just some of the variance you see during any season. And I'm not sure it matters for him anyway, because he's normally a 90 mile per hour guy. That's not really his game. So, ground balls, control. He didn't have much control in his first start. It was better in this one, but he gave up a bunch of hits, which happens sometimes with ground ball pitchers. I don't think there's really anything wrong with Hyunjin Ryu. So he seems like a great buy low candidate.
Adam, I'll admit that it hasn't been the greatest start for your boy over here, specifically for some of the pitchers that I was targeting. Matt Boyd yesterday made a start, and against the Royals, it seemed like a golden opportunity for him, but he allowed 4 earned runs, 9 hits. No walks is good. 6 strikeouts is solid. Would you be looking to buy low on Matthew Boyd right now, Adam?
Not really, but I was not really in on Matthew Boyd to begin with. I just look. If I'm going to buy low on somebody, it's going to be somebody like Barrios, who has a proven track record, and 2 starts means nothing. Boyd has a half a season of a track record. I know you like him a lot more than I do, so that's that's just the difference here. But I don't know. I don't really like him that much.
I suspect Boyd is one bad start, or maybe just meh start, away from getting dropped in the average fantasy league. And so I'm waiting to pick him up if he gets dropped. Like, I feel like that's the more likely way I'm going to end up with them. Partially because I'm not willing to give up that much for him in a trade. If I have an extra outfielder or something that I'm probably not going to use, I'll always trade a spare hitter for a spare pitcher.
I have a question
one who I think has upside
for Frank.
Yeah, hit me up.
You gave Morton, Nola, and Barrios. How many of them do you still prefer to Max Fried? So if I offered you any of those guys for your Max Fried, would you pull the trigger?
Morton, Nola, and Barrios. Yeah, I would still take all 3 ahead of Fried.
All right, good.
Yeah. Look, it's only 2 starts. I don't want to go ahead and change up my rankings too much. I was very high on Fried. I had him ranked inside my top 30 starting pitchers, but I mean, these are all guys that I had ranked. I had Morton and Nola ranked inside my top 20, and then Barrios was, just outside the top 20. So I haven't adjusted things too far yet. I like Fried quite a bit, but I'm not doing that yet. So don't get any ideas out of him.
Fried was hitting 99 today.
Yeah, no, he's awesome.
And he threw a slider about as much as he threw the curveball. We were talking about him. He was a 2-pitch pitcher last year, right? Yeah. Basically. It seems like he's a 3-pitch pitcher now. He's got 2 breaking balls instead of 1, and the slider is actually getting more whiffs than the curveball so far. So that's kind of how things developed with Shane Bieber too. Last year, he added a curveball to the slider. I guess Fried's done the opposite, but now it's to the point where Bieber's curveball might actually be better than his slider. So it's encouraging stuff here from Max Fried early on.
A couple of hitters that stood out to me as potential buy low targets. Will Smith, the catcher for the Dodgers, was batting .091 entering Thursday night. His expected batting average was .294, according to StatCast. Xander Bogaerts has a .167 BABIP with a 69% hard contact rate. Miguel Sano is 1 for 17 to start the season with 8 strikeouts, 0 walks. Franmil Reyes was batting .167 entering tonight with a 64% ground ball rate. Not excited about that as a advocate of Franmil Reyes. Jorge Soler was making a ton of hard contact. He actually picked up a couple of hits tonight, 3 hits actually, and a massive 27% line drive rate. And then Vlad Guerrero Jr. So Will Smith, Bogaerts, Sano, Reyes, Soler, Vlad. Adam, which one do you have the most confidence in bouncing back after their early season struggles?
No surprise, it's Bogaerts. He's a stud. Sano is a roller coaster with him. You remember he had COVID. He's a big strikeout guy. So he's off to a slow start. He's probably going to get really hot at some point, and I expect him to be a streaky hitter. So yeah, you could buy low, but also like there is a really low floor for Miguel Sano. He's been unusable at times. So keep that in mind. I don't agree on Will Smith right now just because he's not playing enough. And I think if you have an opportunity to buy low, it's not even a buy low, but to buy a guy like JT Realmuto, I just think, and maybe we call Gary Sanchez a buy low because that guy, I don't think he has a hit in 5 games. I don't think he got a hit tonight. He's totally lost right now. But the catchers that are going to play a lot are going to have a big edge this year, I think. It's a little disappointing, like with Francisco Mejia, with Will Smith, these guys that were hoping to break out. I think Carson Kelly as well. They're just not playing that much. So, the catchers that are like Realmuto is going to play all the time. They can have just a huge edge this season. And the managers don't have to save them for the long haul. So I don't agree on Will Smith just because of that. Reyes, I'm sure he'll stop being such a ground ball hitter. Soler had a nice night tonight. Yeah, I can't sit here and say buy low on Vlad. I'm worried about Vlad. Doesn't have a track record. Like how can you not be? And just while we're at it, I wouldn't buy low on Edwin Encarnacion. As another guy that I was watching, he's a terribly slow starter now, year after year after year. So when I see Edwin Encarnacion off to a terribly slow start, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, he's going to turn it around. He might, but that might be in a month or month and a half. So I know he wasn't on your list, but I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, Vlad, like, what do we have to fall back on right now with Vlad? I can't do it. If you can trade, I don't know, Starlin Castro, go for it. But I'm not giving up anything that I love for Vlad. Sorry to say it.
Yeah, I'll say this about Vlad, too. He's hitting a lot of ground balls, something we've talked about. He is making hard contact. Charlie Montoyo said this after today's game. He's batting .172 to start the season. That's Vlad Guerrero Jr. We're talking about 7 games. He's struggling right now. Well, thanks for that, Charlie Montoyo. And honestly, look, I'm not going to body shame anybody here, but Vlad he does not look in shape, man. Like he's out of shape. And we heard reports in spring training that he looked to be in better shape. Maybe it was during the pandemic, but the guy is not in great shape. Scott, any of these hitters excite you, or is there any other player that you just have in mind that you'd be trying to buy low on this early in the season?
Well, any hitter that I believed in coming into the season.
How about any first-round pick?
With the exception of maybe Vlad.
Yelich, Acuna, they all stink right now.
Yeah. I mean, those, if you can get one of them, if you can buy low on either of them, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. And really anyone, honestly, you have to legitimately be buying low. That's the key to a buy low deal. But
are there any slow starters that you're actually worried about, like my Encarnacion and Vlad, I guess?
I mean, Vlad, because he's still just hitting the ball into the ground, and his breakthrough was contingent on him not doing that anymore. I worry a little about the extremely volatile guys like Miguel Sano, like Franmil Reyes. Just, is there going to be enough time for them to right the ship? In a full-length season, you could probably say yes. In a 2-month season, you can't be so sure. And they're doing pretty awful right now. But, any of these guys could have a 4-hit game tomorrow, and suddenly the picture looks very different. So that's something you just have to have that perspective. And I'm not that worried about anybody who I believed in the first place.
All right, so let me give you guys two that I'm kind of monitoring right now. Marcus Semien and Josh Bell. The two of them have combined for 2 walks and 13 strikeouts. And plate discipline for Semien was huge for him last year. It was what made him just a breakout. And Bell, I don't even think he has an extra base hit.
He doesn't.
He does, right? 6 for 25 right now. Oh, no, that's Semien. Sorry. Bell is 4 for 23, no extra base hits. But again, 2 walks, 13 strikeouts between the two of them. Are you concerned about them, or would you consider Semien and Bell buy lows?
I think if you're concerned about them, you should try not to be. I have a lot of shares of both. And I look at what Bell's doing in my lineups, and I'm like, okay, he'll be better next week. That's kind of how I'm approaching it. I'm not really reading more into it than that. In fact, Roto World put out a player update for him yesterday and showed that he got off to the same kind of start last year and then was looking like an MVP candidate at the All-Star break. So, yeah, it's just too small of a sample size to mean anything. And it kind of becomes confirmation bias at that point. Oh, I had some concerns about Bell coming in and he's off to a slow start. So therefore, those concerns have been realized. Well, no, he's only played 5 or 6 games. That's mainly what it is. Yeah, I know at some point we're going to have a quick hook with these guys in a season that's so short, but I think this is still way too early.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned about either one of them, but if I had to choose one, it would be Josh Bell. Just a little bit more concerned because the lineup construction around him is it's not great. When you're talking about, I think Adam Frazier was batting 3rd the other day for this lineup. Colin Moran hitting right in the middle there. Outside of Brian Reynolds, who is someone I like, this is not a great Pittsburgh Pirates lineup. So I worry more so about him, but not really about either one as of now. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. Quickly remind you that you should be watching CBS Sports HQ. It's free. We have sports coverage 24 hours a day, fantasy, wagering, you name it. They cover it. You can download the app anywhere. I watch it on my Xbox all the time. And you can find us all. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platforms, but specifically Spotify and Stitcher. We appreciate your support. All right, when we come back, we have some sell high candidates here on Fantasy Baseball Today. We're back here, and we have some potential sell-high candidates. Let's find out right now from the guys. Christian Vasquez had a double dong last night. He now has 4 home runs, which is tied for the league lead. Joey Votto is off to a blistering start. I believe he's the 2nd highest-scoring first baseman in points leagues right now. Dansby Swanson. Look, don't sell high on Dansby Swanson unless you're getting some crazy in return. I love Dansby Swanson. Giancarlo Stanton, Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn. These are all names that are off to blistering starts. Adam, we'll go to you first. Would you be trying to sell any of these names right now?
Stanton. I'd try to sell Giancarlo Stanton. I just don't trust him to stay healthy. He was hurt. He was hurt going into the regular season, start of the season, and then 3 months later, he's not even able to play the field. Are you kidding me? So I don't trust him to stay healthy, and he's probably a really good hitter, but I guess I'm not as convinced as Chris. So I'd be looking to sell him. I gotta say that I just feel like I'm wrong about Sonny Gray, and I'm willing to accept that. I didn't draft him at all, but I just didn't buy the strikeouts. But you gotta buy in at this point, I'd say. Other than that, yeah, look, Votto, Swanson, if you can turn them into something great, do it, especially Votto. But I'm encouraged by what we've seen from Votto. I think, he could have a nice bounce back, particularly in a head-to-head points league. In a 5x5 Roto league, I don't really see Votto having a great year. But in a points league, I could see him sneakily being like a top 5 first baseman, which wouldn't shock me. And Vasquez is going to play a lot at catcher, which helps. I talked about that earlier. He's a sell high, but only if you can get a top 5 catcher. So
you wouldn't trade him for Will Smith?
No.
No, you wouldn't do that right now. All right, because I think we all had Will Smith ranked ahead of Vasquez coming into the season. Scott, you agree with that? You wouldn't trade Vasquez for Will Smith right now?
No, I wouldn't, because there are questions about Will Smith's playing time, and I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, Vasquez's hot start matters to the extent that, like, I didn't know if he'd just be a total dud this year because it was such an outlier what he had last year. And, I don't think he's going to finish as the number one catcher this year, but I think he's going to be. I think he's shown with 4 home runs already that he's going to be fine. He's going to be a fine starter for you. So, yeah, I have more confidence in him than Will Smith at this point. Among sell high types, like anybody you picked up off the waiver wire, which could be Votto, it could be Swanson. Yeah, you can float them out there. Like, I don't think either's a total mirage. I think more likely than not, they are going to fade and become fringy fantasy types, more likely than not. But there is certainly a path for both to become impact players in fantasy too. So you have to sell high if you are going to sell high, like a Swanson for Marcus Semien trade. If you can pull off that kind of magic, yes, I think that's almost a remedial fantasy take at this point. I think the people listening, are savvy enough to know that for themselves, but just in case they're not, that would be great if you could do that. Swanson, I think, is leading the majors in RBI right now, or at least he was at the end of that game earlier today. But obviously he's not going to in the end.
But would you trade Corey Seager for Marcus Semien? Would you sell high on Corey Seager? Where are you putting him in your rankings?
No, there's no chance.
That's a fair question. I'm going to leave him behind Semien for now, but we've seen Seager meet his upside basically his first 2 years in the majors, and he was a stud. So, yeah,
but he was like a 25-ish homer guy.
Yeah, different landscape.
I guess so. I mean, I think that you could sell high on Seager, but you'd have to get like people. If you couldn't do this in a roto league, but in a points league, I'd still take Trey Turner over him. Sure. And people don't realize Turner's value in that form. But I don't like Seager could be a top 5 shortstop. I'd take him over Machado. I'd take him over Machado, Frank. Machado's off to a good start, but I'd take Seager over him.
I don't think that's a terrible take at this point. Seager looks great, man. And we've talked about how the level of contact that he's making right now. And, entering today's games, I think he had 15 batted balls over 95 mile per hour exit velocity. And then he went out and hit a home run against Robbie Ray. So off of a lefty as well. Not that Robbie Ray is anything. I'm sorry.
Robbie Ray.
But Corey Seager looks... look, if I own Seager right now and someone offered me Marcus Semien, I would not accept the trade. But that's just me. Scott, two names that we're getting a lot of questions about right now: Kyle Lewis and Nate Pearson. What would you set their trade value at right now? Something we do talk a lot about is when prospects first get called up, their value might not ever be higher than at that point. And then obviously Pearson went out and had a great first start. So where would you set the trade value for Kyle Lewis and Nate Pearson?
Yeah, especially because he had a great debut, and I was especially confident in him going into that debut. I'm not sure that's true in Pearson's case. I think he could have the kind of year Chris Paddock did last year, and then obviously his value goes up. He was my rookie of the year pick for the AL, so I'd be less inclined to say that for him. I'm trying, would I even trade him for Matthew Boyd at this point? I'm not sure I would. So the trade value is pretty high there. Kyle Lewis, I still don't have a lot of confidence in Lewis. He just strikes out so much, even though it's mostly batting. He's hit a couple home runs, but he has a ton of singles too. And that's not going to continue if he's striking out more than a third of the time. It's just the math, it does not compute. Okay. What Kyle Lewis is doing now, what he did at the end of last year too. It's all going to fall apart at some point. So whatever you can get for him, I'm fine with, because I don't think he's going to be rosterable all season long.
In a 5 outfielder league, I wouldn't just trade him for the sake of trading him. I think there is some value in Kyle Lewis in a 5 outfielder league. But if you play in a points league and you just picked him up and you can get a top 30, a top 40 outfielder in return that we had entering the season. Someone asked me today, should I trade Kyle Lewis for Franmil Reyes? I would make that deal. I still have a lot of confidence in Franmil Reyes. So that's an example of one that you can try to pull off right now. Next week, Scott, I know that you're in charge of the pitching and hitting planner on CBSSports.com. What are we looking at? And then this is, I understand it's subject to change, but in terms of some sleeper pitchers, some sleeper hitters, matchups to watch, what do you got your eye on for week? I don't even know if it's week 2. Whatever week starts on August 3rd. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. There are a lot of great 2-start pitchers this upcoming week, provided no games get canceled and rotations don't get reshuffled tremendously. There are great 2-start pitchers. So many must-start options that, you might have to stretch a little more if you don't have a ton of them yourself. Somebody like Rich Hill is theoretically still widely available, and his matchups are Pittsburgh and Kansas City this week. So, we've been hyping Rich Hill all along. I'm sure everybody listening has made sure what Rich Hill is rostered in their league, but the data says otherwise. So pick up Rich Hill. Nate Pearson has a 2-start week coming up. Zach Plesac does. A lot of the guys we've been hyping off the waiver wire. Steven Matz, who wasn't as good today, but was good enough that with one of those matchups being against the Marlins, presuming they're back to playing next week, Steven Matz looks good for a 2-start week. Brady Singer.
Can I get in there though, Scott? Like with Pearson, he's first of all, he's at Atlanta and at Boston.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I'm not ready for that commitment yet, but also the Blue Jays, are they good to go? I know they're canceling their weekend series with the Phillies. So
this isn't part of that.
I know, but I'm wondering if that changes their rotation, or like how confident are you that they stay? Is this reflected in that, him being a 2-star pitcher, that they stay on turn, or, they could skip some guys? And I don't know how that's going to factor. It might not mean anything.
I will double check that, but I think he'd be one of the, other than Hyunjin Ryu and maybe Matt Shoemaker, he'd be one of the ones they'd be least likely to skip, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll double check that before I publish the article. Thanks.
But you're okay with him in those matchups?
Yeah.
Atlanta and Boston?
I would be. Yeah. I think he's talented enough that that matters more to me than the matchups. Just like, I'd rather have him going again at Atlanta and at Boston than, Daniel Ponce de Leon at Detroit and versus the Cubs,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd rather have him than Steven Matz potentially getting one matchup against the Marlins there in his 2-start week. Brady Singer pitched today. We didn't get a chance to talk about him yet. He looked more like the pitch to contact guy he was in the minors, but it was weak contact and he was okay. He has a 2-start week coming up. I'd be fine. Even one of those matchups against the Twins, but I think among the 2-start options who are available, and he's available in like 2/3 of leagues still, he is still among the more attractive ones. Let's get into some hitter stuff because I don't know how much time we have left. Best hitter matchups this week. The Rockies have 4 games at home. They're number 1. The Twins, number 2. Cubs, 3. Angels, 4. Mariners, 5. The Giants aren't in the top 5, but they're the team the Rockies are facing for those 4 games at Coors Field. So they have decent matchups too. Worst matchups, I have the Orioles. The Orioles are scheduled to play only 4 games this week. I don't know how exactly that happened. I don't know what kind of cancellations maybe contributed to that, but they're only playing 4 games this week. And one's against the Yankees, 3's against the Nationals. So yeah, don't start any Orioles. You won it anyway, I guess. Second worst is the Yankees. Third worst, Red Sox. Fourth, Reds. And 5th, Padres.
Now, do we know how many lefties the Rockies are playing? Can we finally get Garrett Hampson in there, guys?
Garrett Hampson did play yesterday against I believe it was Frankie Montas.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3. I have them down for 3 lefties in their 7 games.
All right. That can help Garrett Hampson.
That he plays against lefties. I made it sound like it doesn't. But
it would have to be a large roto lineup. It would have to be, I really, really need steals. Otherwise,
or they could just like wise up and play him more.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, it's the Rockies.
I'm not counting on that at this point, but
no. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Guys, I know you wanted to highlight just of all the bullpen things that we mentioned tonight, we didn't talk about Edwin Diaz, who came in the 9th inning, walked Verdugo, allowed a hit to Michael Chavis, walked Andrew Benintendi, and then struck out Devers, hit by pitch to Jose Peraza, which allowed Alex Verdugo to score, and then he was pulled from the game. So Edwin Diaz now.
The fake fans, boo.
I don't think that they're playing that in Citi Field, but they probably should. It's now, I believe he's made 3 appearances, 2 of which have been less than stellar for Edwin Diaz. So,
well, he allowed a solo home run in one, took the loss. That was the only problem with it, and it wasn't on the slider, and everybody seemed like, okay, this is not a big deal. He can't do this. He can't do this when he already has a tenuous grasp on the closer role, when Seth Lugo is awesome, when they have other closer alternatives there too. Like you can't be having a 35 pitch inning where you are unable to keep the lead right where it is. I think
they were trailing. Were they trailing?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
That's what I meant is the score right where it is.
Yeah, it's a non-save situation. We should point that out. And a lot of times these closers don't do well in those situations. And Scott, I don't know that they have a replacement for him unless they go to Lugo. And I've been saying I don't think they would want to do that because he's so valuable in the 2 innings at a time or an inning in 2/3, and Betances is throwing like 93 miles per hour. I actually think Familia is a sleeper here. He's had 4 appearances. One's been really bad, so his ERA is high, but 3 of his 4 appearances have been scoreless. I think Familia is a sleeper here, but Diaz is still throwing like 100 miles per hour.
It was last year too. He was the stuff. Yeah, it's like I understand they may not want to move Seth Lugo into the closer role, but what they want to do even less than that is lose games, and this could. I don't know. This was an ugly outing from a guy who could ill afford one, and I'm not saying they should replace Diaz at this point, but I don't have confidence that they won't at least experiment based on this.
Yeah, the last thing I'll add regarding Betances is, yes, the velocity is down. He's averaging 94 miles per hour on his fastball. He's been 97 in his career. He's still getting a lot of swinging strikes. Mind you, he's only pitched 2 innings, so it's not much. But 13.9% swinging strike rate, that's exactly his career mark. So it might be Familia, but I'm not doubting Dellin Betances either. Guys, let's answer a few questions here. A few of these came in from our Apple Podcast reviews. Continue to send those in. We really appreciate those, guys. This one's from Aaron A3. Should I drop Aaron Hicks for Mark Canha?
Yes.
All right. Well, that was fast. This one's from Paul. Dear Carl, Ty, Elihu, and Al.
Carl, that sounds like Caddyshack. Well, Carl and Ty.
Yes, these are from Caddyshack.
Okay.
I'm not even going to say what I was about to say. I haven't seen Caddyshack. I spend a lot of my time driving around the great state of Montana for work. I don't know if you have ever been to Montana, but it's a long drive to anywhere. Listening to you guys banter back and forth keeps me focused while I'm on the road. I'm hoping that you could take a moment to discuss who you believe has the best hair beard in the sport. As a Twins fan, I nominate Sergio Romo.
Oh, it's the combination of Dustin May's hair and Justin Turner's beard. They are just like a big orange thing.
They're like that mascot in hockey. What's that guy's name? He's just like
I don't know.
He's just like a big ball of orange hair.
That I want to see.
Is it the Flyers mascot? Is that who it is?
I think that is. I think that
Gritty.
Yeah, Gritty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta see this.
But yeah, I was gonna say Justin Turner is a good one. Bryce Harper. I am not afraid to say that Bryce Harper is a handsome man, and he has great hair, and he has a great beard. And I also happen to be a huge fan of Bryce Harper. So.
I have a great story about Bryce Harper. I saw him once at a golf course in Las Vegas, and I was like, "Hey, that's Bryce Harper" to my friends, and that was it. That was the story.
That was it.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say you went up to the guy and you said, "Hey, Bryce," and it turned out it wasn't Bryce Harper.
The best.
No, it didn't happen.
The best hair in baseball is Bo Bichette, and he doesn't have a full blown beard. It's usually more like a stubble.
He can't grow a beard. He's like 20 years old.
Oh, he's pretty stubbly. It's fuller than I can at 36. I'll say that for him. But his hair is it's well conditioned. It's well maintained. It's not like, remember when Jacob deGrom came up and had long hair and it was just kind of like a mess over his shoulders.
Yeah,
this is not Bo Bichette.
Bichette is Hamels-esque.
Yeah,
Hair commercial-esque.
Bichette has some beautiful hair for sure. This one's from Brooks. Should I drop Yasiel Puig or wait it out? We're all right dropping Puig, right, guys?
Yeah, bye.
Yep.
This one's from Jack. Yoshi Tsutsugo's walk-up song should be Susudio by Phil Collins. Tsugio.
I think that makes sense. I think he might piss him off a little bit. I'm not sure, but yeah.
It might already be. I don't watch enough Tampa Bay Rays games, to be honest with you. It might already be.
So boring watching a game in that stadium.
I mean, yeah, they basically have the same.
It's poorly lit. It's just ugly.
They have the same attendance now as they did like when fans were permitted, so it's not really dissimilar. Here's the last one we'll answer. Who would you rather pick up, Kyle Lewis or Mike Yastrzemski? What do you think, Scott?
Yaz. Yaz was one of my sleepers coming into the season, and he has played every single game so far for a team that loves platoons. He was better against lefties than righties last year. He's batting leadoff, and he homered twice yesterday, or what day was that? Wednesday. I should clarify.
Wednesday night. The walk-off home run, his second of the game, came off a lefty, Matt Strahm as well.
Splash hit. Yeah, better against lefties and righties. Like I said, he walks a lot. I think Yastrzemski might be a star, and just nobody knows it yet.
You might be right about that. I'm kind of interested. He's out there in a few points leagues as well, so definitely a name to look into right now. Scott is a Yaz man, which reminds me of the song Scat Man. You guys a fan?
I'm the Yaz man.
Scott's the Yaz man. Skibby-dibby-dap-dap-dap-dap. All right, we're going to end the show.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Oh, man. For Adam and Scott, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today on our YouTube channel. We'll be back again on Monday. Bye-bye.